Hello, this is Schizophrenia Matters, and today I'd like to talk about the elephant in the room, drug use and schizophrenia. It's been my experience that that one is often kind of blamed on the other, and for me, I am here to say that I had schizophrenia first. When I was a kid, I hallucinated sharks in the pool that I was swimming in. I had to convince myself that they were not there. I was convinced that I had a monster in me from a very early age. I would have that type of social withdrawal. I would have that type of disorganized thinking and speech patterns, even at an early age. You know, a lot of that was attributed to a kid with an overactive imagination. You know, no one wanted to believe that I had any type of thing wrong with me, and that I was going to be okay no matter what, and you know, so long as I was physically active, that I could be okay. And now, I was physically active as a kid. You know, like I swam. You know, and I played ice hockey. I grew up playing sports. I had really good hand-eye coordination, but also in the fact I was beating back a profound fear, namely that that there were things that were out to get me within myself, and then outside of myself that were not there. I perceived them as enemies. I had a strep throat quite chronically as a kid. I had high temperatures as a kid, high temperature fevers. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I remember having psychotic delusions as a child, and it being just being swept under the rug as a child with an overactive imagination. Now moving into around 7 or 8, like I would steal alcohol from my parents, and then just small sips at parties and stuff like that they would have, and I would usually spend my time in my room dissociating from where I was at. When I turned about 12, when I turned about 14, I started getting in trouble. I started experimenting with drugs and alcohol, and getting in trouble with my parents. I never really got in trouble with the law or anything like that, but I would have these different experiences where I would be overtaken by this stuff, and I really identified with that, and I would try to use that to escape to another world. Because I was afraid of the world that I had, and that when I was on marijuana, at least, I could have some comfort. I felt like being comfortable for the first time, because it kind of lent a little bit of validity to why things were off, because I had hallucinations and things that would happen to me and delusions while I was completely sober. And so when I would use marijuana, it felt like I would actually get an escape from those delusions and from those hallucinations. And if I did have it, I could easily say, hey, I was stoned, or I had been using marijuana, and at least in my mind that made sense. I would say, if I had done if marijuana had been legal before I had done any of this, I probably wouldn't have been exposed to half of the things that I was exposed to because I was looking for marijuana to treat in my own way, self-medicate in my own way the delusions that I was having, and I had no other real I had no real other option, because I thought that I didn't know who to talk to about it, you know. I didn't want to talk to my parents about it. I didn't know if they would believe me. I didn't know how severe I really was going through these things, but I was quite severe, and I was a loner, and I became very outside and outcast from my friends and my family during my high school years. Some might say, like a problematic tendency. Like that loner, often depressed, emotionally volatile. But I was also an athlete, and so I had this within me, this idea that I was, just strong and just, quiet, and I was just a little bit different. And I was, having these experiences, but I was alone by myself a lot. By the time that I was 19, I went to a fish show, and where I was sprayed in the face with a bottle of LSD, and I had a psychedelic break. I had a psychotic break from that lasted for a week, and where I was fully hallucinating spiders crawling on me. I was fully hallucinating for a week, and so I tried to drink myself to death after that. And from then on, I had I had issues, but that eventually went away. Like I don't think that I have any. I'm not suffering from that. I'm suffering from schizophrenia because of that situation. I think that I've had schizophrenia, and it put me into these weird situations and these things that I was uncontrollable. I didn't have control over, and I've always tried to have fun. I've always tried to be the life of the party. I've tried to, as much as I have been solitary, I have lived a life of kind of recklessness, and I don't know if that was a symptom of my bipolar, which it possibly could be, or if it's a symptom of just wanting to live with abandon. If that was a coping mechanism for how I wanted, for lack of responsibility and accountability, and my ability to shuck those things, just really do only what I wanted to do and act completely out of self-will. That I do have that type of streak in me where I wanted to experience it all, and I wanted to experience a lot of things in my life, and I didn't want to be bound by a stereotypical thing of you can only do this way or else. And so I will contend that I had schizophrenia before any type of drug use, because I had it when I was a kid. will contend that as far as a trigger, I would say for psychotic symptoms, I don't know, right? I still think that since I have had psychotic breaks while sober, it's very it's hard to pinpoint really what's going on. I think schizophrenia I would have schizophrenic and psychotic breaks even if I never touched drugs in my entire life. Just lucky, I guess, So I guess I hope that addresses the the elephant in the room. I am not addicted to drugs, and I never really have been addicted to drugs, even though that I have tried drugs, but I wouldn't say that I'm a drug addict. And I think it would be unfair to really call me a drug addict, given my lack of drug use. However, just because I have done something doesn't mean that I haven't done damage to my body and to my brain, But on the same end, I think that I would have schizophrenia even without drug use. So I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I hope that if you are suffering from schizophrenia, you find some comfort. Thank you.